Why am I starting this video in a dimly lit hallway? Stick with me, it all makes sense in a minute. Hello, today's video is going to be an experiment, actually a photography experiment. It's going to be the first in a series. Whoa, it just got really dark. Hang on, now I'm scared. There we go, much better. Today's video is going to be the first in a series of photography experiments, 40 photography experiments to be exact. And the first thing that I usually have anybody that's trying to learn photography with a new camera do is to test the ISO limits of their camera. So what I tell them to do is set up a little scene like this. There we go. So set up a scene that has something white, something black, some colors in between, a little diorama, if you will, of just stuff you have around the house, maybe even throw in a flashlight. And you're going to take that setup, put it at one end of a table. At the other end of the table, you're going to set your camera, set it on something nice and solid. It could be on a tripod, but it doesn't have to be. Just make sure it doesn't move between the photos. Make sure you're in an area that is nice and dark, maybe with just one light source. I must confess that the dark hallway that I'm in actually has two light sources, which is why the color kind of keeps changing back and forth, so I apologize for that. And then you're going to take a picture at each ISO with your camera. So the first picture, take it with ISO 100, and then change to ISO 200, 400, 800. Just do the major stops. You don't have to do the stops in between. But keep the lighting a little low because you want to basically torture test your camera. Now, you're going to want it in aperture priority mode, so make sure the aperture doesn't change. Your camera will be allowed to change the shutter speed, but you're going to be in charge of the ISO. So as you go along each of those stops, maybe up to 64,000, some cameras go, even 128,000, whatever your camera goes up to, go all the way up. Then take those pictures, download them into your computer, and take a look to see what your tolerance is for noise in the pictures. Every camera is a little different, even when you buy a new camera. You're going to want to do this each time that you're trying out something new, even if it's like for instance, this little there we go, Insta 360 camera. I will test this one out to see where the ISO limits are. I have a feeling it's probably going to be around ISO 400 is where I start saying, no, that's not really looking that good. But you want to test out each of the ISO levels so that you know what you can handle and what is too much noise and what is not too much noise. There is no absolute. Nowadays cameras are getting better. So maybe ISO 800 is going to work just fine for you. But maybe by the time you watch this video, it's 5 years old and ISO, 64,000 is just fine and works great depending upon your camera. So as those innovations march along, you're going to want to keep up with what your new camera can do. So again, set up a little scene just like this. Oh, let's put the camera back. Take a number of pictures, one at each ISO. So ISO 100 if your camera has it, 200, 400, 800, so on and so forth until you get to the max. After that, take a look in the computer, see what you like. That's it.